Hi guys, welcome to my channel Creatively Expressive. My name is Amy and today we're going to be doing something a little bit different. So along with my passion for crafting, I also have a love for cake decorating. So today I thought I'd share a winter themed cake with you that you could make for a holiday get together, a winter themed birthday, or even just for fun. So if that sounds like something that's interesting to you, then please stick around. If you're new to my channel, welcome. I'm so glad you found me and I hope you'll consider becoming a part of my creative family by subscribing to my channel. And if you're a returning subscriber, welcome back, and I just want to say that I really do appreciate your continued support. Now let's get started. Okay, so to start off my cake, I'm going to be making this buttercream. This is my favorite recipe to use. And it uses 3/4 of a cup of egg whites, of pasteurized liquid egg whites, and then 6 cups of powdered sugar. And you just add the powdered sugar and the egg whites to a bowl of a stand mixer. And then I'm going to add my paddle attachment and I'm going to mix that at low speed just until it's combined. And then I'm going to turn that off and then scrape down the sides. And then I'm going to turn my mixer up to medium speed and I'm going to let that beat for 5 minutes. And once that's done, I'm going to add 3 cups of butter at room temperature. And I'm turning my mixer to medium speed again, and I'm just adding in my butter about 1 tablespoon at a time. And now that I have all the butter added in, I'm going to add in 2 tablespoons of vanilla extract. And then I'm going to scrape down the sides of my bowl again, and this is what it's going to look like. It's kind of runny and separated at this point. And now I'm going to turn my mixer back up to medium speed, and I'm going to let this mix for about 10 minutes. And that's all you need to do to make this buttercream. And it turns out super creamy, and it's not overly sweet, and it's super easy to make. That's why this is my favorite recipe, and I'll include the recipe in the description box below. And now you can either use Americolor food coloring, or Wilton also makes a food coloring that you can find at Walmart. I got the Americolor at on Amazon, and I'm just adding in a little bit of royal blue to my white frosting until I get a shade of blue that I like. And I had reserved some of that frosting in 2 separate bowls because I want to dye some of it green. And I'm using a little bit of Moss Green by Wilton. And then I'm also going to add in a little bit of Kelly Green that's also by Wilton until I get a shade of green that I'm happy with. And then I'm just going to leave the rest of that buttercream white. And so now I have 3 colors. I have a light blue, a light green, and a white. And now I have a cake board that I cut into a square, and I glued 3 cake boards together so it's thicker. And I made these cakes a couple days ahead of time, and I wrapped them in saran wrap and then I froze them. And then I just take them out of the freezer a little bit before I'm ready to use them to thaw out a little bit. And now I'm just putting a little bit of buttercream on my cake board just to get that cake to stick to it. And then I'm just unwrapping my first cake layer and I'm putting it down on that buttercream. And now I'm just going to put a nice thick layer of buttercream on top of that first cake layer and spread it out evenly. And then we're going to put our second layer on top of that and do the same thing. Put another thick layer of buttercream and smooth it out pretty evenly. And then we're putting our third layer down and we're doing the same thing. Just putting on a big glob of buttercream on top and smoothing it out evenly and over the sides of the cake. And now we're just gonna spread a thin layer of buttercream all over that cake. And this is gonna be our crumb coat, which is gonna keep in all the crumbs so that when you do your final layer of buttercream, you don't have any ugly crumbs showing up in it. And now I got this scraper from the Dollar Tree actually, and it works great for frosting cakes. And so I'm just using that scraper to smooth out my frosting the best I can. And once I get this pretty smooth, I'm going to put the cake into the refrigerator to set up for about a half an hour. And now I'm just mixing a little bit darker shade of blue up. And I'm going to take that lighter shade of blue and I'm going to put it on the top of the cake. And then also like the top half of the sides of the cake. And it doesn't have to be pretty at this point. We just want a really thick layer because you're going to be doing a lot of scraping. And then for the bottom half of that cake, I'm doing that darker shade of blue that I mixed up. And again, it doesn't have to be perfect. You just want a really nice thick layer. And now we're going to take that scraper from the Dollar Tree and we're going to start smoothing out our buttercream. So you hold the scraper at about a 45-degree angle and you just lightly press it against the side of the cake. And you just spin your cake on your turntable. I got this turntable at Amazon for about $27. And now I'm just adding in some extra buttercream where there was like craters and holes in my buttercream where it wasn't quite thick enough. So I'm just adding some more buttercream over those spots. And now we just go back in with that scraper again. Hold it at a 45-degree angle, lightly hold it against the side of your cake and just turn that turntable. And just keep going and you just scrape some off and then you scrape it. You clean off your scraper by scraping the buttercream off onto a bowl. And then you just keep going. This takes a while, but if you just keep at it, you can get a nice, smooth, nice looking cake. And this is the hardest part for me, is the top of the cake, trying to get it the way I want it, but I just try to do my best. And now I'm just going back over the sides, and then I'm going to put this in the refrigerator again to chill for another 30 minutes. And while that's chilling in the refrigerator, I'm taking these sugar cones and I'm going to cut them down. And I'm going to I want them all different heights. So I'm going to cut 3 of them down for the top of my cake. And then for the ones, I want to put some on the side of the cake too, but I don't want the whole round cone. So I'm trying to break off the back side of the cones so that they'll sit flatter against the side of my cake. So I'm just doing that. And I'm also breaking some of the bottoms off of these so that I have shorter ones and I have taller ones. And now that buttercream has set up nice and hard, I'm just using a sharp knife just to scrape off the edges across the top of that cake so it's got a more straight line along the edge of that top edge of that cake. And now I'm just going to clean off my board. So first I just scrape it off with a spatula, and then I'm just going in with a paper towel and trying to get as close to the edge of the cake as I can without actually touching the cake, just to clean that board up so it looks nice and pretty and there's not buttercream all over it. And now I'm taking these icing bags that I got from Wilton, and then I'm using a coupler that you can also get from Wilton, and then I'm going to use this tip. It's 352 by Wilton, and I'm going to add that to the coupler. And then I'm going to fill this bag with green frosting. And now I'm going to use this tip to pipe onto this sugar cone. Sorry. And I'm holding that cake tip so because there's 2 points on that cake tip. And so I'm making sure that I hold it so that the points are at the top and the bottom, kind of like a bird's beak that's open. So you hold it at that angle and you just squeeze against the side of the cone and you apply pressure, and then you slowly release your pressure and then you pull away, and that'll form the point on your leaves. And you just keep repeating. You just turn the cone and you squeeze to apply pressure, and then you release your pressure and pull away, and it'll form a little point on your leaf. So the more pressure you apply, forms the thicker base of your leaf, and then when you lessen your pressure, it forms the point on your leaf, if that makes sense. It's pretty easy to do. You just have to make sure that your tip, the points are at the top and the bottom, like I said, like a bird's beak. And you just keep applying those leaves until it starts to get hard to hold that cone. And then we're going to put the cone on the cake, and then we'll apply the rest of the leaves to the top of the cone once it's on the cake. So I'm just going to press that down into the top of my cake. And now I'm doing a second cone in green. And here I'll show you how I add the leaves once it's on the cake, the rest of the leaves. But it's easier to add the leaves before it's on the cake because the other cones aren't getting in your way. But, I mean, you can't, you have to apply some of them to the cone once it's on the cake because you can only hold it for so long before you run out of space to hold. So I'm just adding the rest of the leaves onto that cone. And then when I get to the very top, I'm gonna angle my bag in a different direction so it's straight up and down, and then I'm going to put that last leaf so it points up in the air, as you can see here, just to form the point on the top of our tree. And now I'm going to do a shorter cone with white, and I'm just doing the same thing. I'm using the same number tip, just in white this time, and just applying those leaves all over that cone. And then putting it on the cake, and then we'll add the last little bit of leaves to the top of that cone. And now we're going to add our cones that we broke in half to the sides of the cake. And I'm just randomly adding them where I think they'll look good. And you just press them into the cake. And it's okay if it messes up your frosting a little bit around the edges because you're going to cover that up with the leaves. As you can see, it's pushing my frosting out a little bit around the edges of the cones, but that'll be covered up with the leaves here in a second. And so I'm just going to do the same thing, use that same cake tip and just apply leaves all over these cones that I added to the side of the cake. And I'm going to do some of these trees in the green frosting and then some of them in the white frosting. You just want to have your leaves nice and close together so that it covers up all of that sugar cone. And now I'm doing this little one next to that one in the white. And now that I have all the trees covered, we're going to move on to the next step. So now I'm using this 1M tip by Wilton. It's a large star tip. And I added it to one of my piping bags and I put white frosting in there. And I'm just going to add a couple of large swirls to the cake. So I'm adding one right next to this tree on the top here. And then I'm going to add one along the bottom here next to this tree. And now I got these wedding cake cookies from the grocery store. You could also make them yourself, but I was saving myself a step here just by buying them. And they look like little snowballs, and I'm just going to add a few here and there. I'm going to add one to the top of that swirl of buttercream. And then I just add a little bit of buttercream to the bottom of another one and set it next to that. And then I'm just adding a little bit more buttercream to that side of the cake, and I'm going to add another little snowball cookie. And then I'm going to add one right here to the bottom. And then another little swirl next to that. And then I decided that swirl wasn't quite large enough underneath that cookie, so I made it a little bit bigger and re-added that cookie to it. And then I'm just adding a few more snowball cookies here and there. And now I'm just going to pipe little stars here and there with that same tip. And now I'm using this tip 4B by Wilton. It's another star tip, but it has more teeth to it, so it gives a kind of a different look to your stars. And then I'm just going to squeeze that tip onto the cake. Just apply pressure, squeeze, and then release, and that just forms a little star on your cake. And I'm doing this in blue, and I'm just adding a few here and there, just so it's pleasing to your eye, however you want to do it. Oh, and I forgot to mention this cake is inspired by a cake that I saw on Instagram, and I'll share a link to that cake in the description box below. And now I'm just taking a little tiny round tip. I think this one was a 1, just to squeeze a little bit of frosting here and there to get my marshmallows to stick to the cake. And now I found this winter sprinkles mix at the grocery store, and I'm going to use some of the sprinkles from this mix on our cake. And so first I'm using these bigger balls that were in that mix, and I'm using just the blue ones, and I'm just going to use a few of those here and there where I think they'll look cute. Just to add a little more detail to our cake. And now I'm going to use some of those white snowflakes that were in that mix, and I'm just going to press them to the sides of the cake randomly so it looks like it's snowing. And then I'm going to add a few to the top as well. Again, just so it's pleasing to your eye. And now I'm taking some of those little tiny white ball sprinkles, and I'm just going to add those to the cake here and there. So I'm just dropping them on the top of the cake, and it looks like snow on the cake. And then for the sides of the cake, at first I couldn't figure out how to get them on there. And so I finally just decided just to throw them at the cake, which worked out really well for me. So I'm just tossing them at the cake, and they stick to the side of the cake. And I'm just doing that all around the sides of the cake. And some ended up in the trees, which I thought looked cute, so I made sure to add some more to the trees so it looks like there's snow on the trees too. And you just keep going, just tossing them at the cake until all sides of your cake are covered in that the little snow. And I'm just dropping them on the trees on the top of the cake as well. Just making it look like a snowy, wintry scene. And now that I'm done with that, I'm going to use a little bit more powdered sugar in a mesh strainer, and I'm just going to shake a little bit of powdered sugar all over the top of our cake, just to add some more snow to our cake. into the treetops. And once I've added my powdered sugar, I just took some ribbon that I got from Walmart and I just glued it around the edge of that cake board just to make the edge of that cake board look prettier and more professional looking. I just used a little bit of hot glue and I just glued that ribbon around the edge of that cake board. And that's it, guys. What do you guys think? I think it turned out beautiful and I hope you guys try this because it's really fun to do. And if you just keep practicing, you'll get better and better. Alright guys, that's it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you haven't already tried your hand at cake decorating, I hope this video has inspired you to try it. If you did enjoy this video, please show me some love by giving me a thumbs up, commenting, or even sharing this video with anyone that you think might enjoy it. And I hope you guys have a great day, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye! Today I thought I'd share a winter themed cake with you guys that you could use to make inspired you. And I hope it's inspired you to get cake decorating. I hope this video has inspired you to try. Alright guys, that's it. Video. If you guys enjoyed this video, alright guys, that's it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you haven't already tried your hand at cake decorating, I hope